Hello, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. I'm Karen Keith, and I'm delighted to be here on what a gorgeous, gorgeous day in Tulsa, Oklahoma, USA. I hope you found your way in here through the construction. And how many of you had the stew? Was that not an outrageous stew? Let's hear it for Derek Hiller. Woo, that was good homemade stew. Derek, I don't know if you can hear us, but we said thank you. Anyway, again, I'm glad you're all here. Song and Pledge by John DeBar. On the piano, Tom Wolfe. Visitor introductions by past President Ed Monette. And now our invocation will be given by Matthew Bristow.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we offer thanks to you for bringing us together in Rotary, for fellowship, encouragement, and accountability, working together to serve the needs of our community. We thank you for the meal we've enjoyed today and for the service of those who've prepared it. We'd ask you to keep us mindful of those who are hungry today and those that are in need of our help and service. We also offer thanks for the work of our speaker, Michael Garrett, and his counterparts in colleges around the country. We ask that you give them strength in their role to educate and encourage their student athletes to not only develop as great athletes, but more importantly, to become great citizens and role models for the next generation. This week, we also pray for a miracle in Washington, that the politicians who represent the people are reminded of their obligation to serve the interests of the people before the interests of themselves, and they do so with truth, fairness, and goodwill. Please help them to reconcile their differences for the greater good, and help us all set aside our political differences to be open to any long-term resolutions that they may propose to support the growth and prosperity of this great nation. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
I'd like to invite all of you to sing God Bless America such that Washington, D.C. can hear it from all of you folks, like a protest, and then we'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Welcome again to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. We are so glad that you're here, and in the interest of time, I'm only going to read the important guests. You know, I'm just glad that John didn't have us sing The Eyes of Texas. One that's married to a Texas grad, it's been a rough week, and I was asked how long I'm in mourning, and it's only till the next victory over Texas, so I got at least a year. As is our custom, I will introduce our Rotarian and their guest. If you would stand briefly so that you may be spotted, and then you can sit right back down, and we will hold our applause until all have been introduced. The guest of Rotarian Dana Burks is Rita Gates with Clifford Power Systems. Rotarian Pedro Figueroa has brought with him Jesus Ramirez from in the oil and gas business. How do you do, Jesus? All right. Charles Sechrist has brought with him Carissa Nealis with Cox Business. Vanessa Camara is the guest of Joseph Bias. Vanessa is with Camara Marketing Group. We have with us as guest of our speaker, James Donovan with Langston University. And Dr. Perry Sanders is a guest of Michael Turner, and Dr. Sanders is also with Langston University. Rotarian Randy Shorb has brought with him Luke Bomer and Trevor Hughes with Johnson & Jones. Let's give all our visiting guests a round of applause. Visiting guests, that's kind of redundant, I guess, yes. Now it's time to introduce our visiting Rotarians, both from way out. The farthest, I think, if my GPS works, from Vineland, New Jersey, Michael Sider. And from the Rotary Club of Washington, D.C., a good place to be from, Dr. Sam Hancock. And I believe Dr. Hancock has a banner exchange to carry out. So come right on up, President. Thank you all, and please come back when you can.
All right, welcome one and all. Our Rotary sponsor this week is John Esposito, Espo Fire and Water Restoration. We encourage you to do business with your fellow Rotarians. Please thank all of today's sponsors and all of our volunteers. And we have a very special guest today with us. Kostas, I am so sorry if I messed this up, and it won't be the first time it's happened to you. Protopopoulos, artistic director of Tulsa Opera, and he's going to introduce The Marriage of Figaro. And we're so delighted to have all of you here. And when we were singing God Bless America, there were these great voices coming from that table. Made a difference.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be back at Rotary. Thanks for having us. As you heard, we have Marriage of Figaro coming this weekend at the PAC Friday night and Sunday afternoon. Of course, one of the most beautiful, most popular operas of all time, written by the greatest musical genius of all time, Mozart. This is going to be a really terrific production of a classic work. Of course, it's a comedy, but of course it has romance, has some of the most beautiful music Mozart ever wrote. And it's staged with great flair, with almost sort of a sitcom style by our very young director, Alice Sandell, and we have a cast that not only has tremendous voices and great acting ability, but they're also all extremely good looking. If you're not following us on Twitter and Facebook, I want you to all go to our Facebook page today and check out the photos. They're pretty outstanding, and of course their voices. You can hear a little bit later today when we put our video trailer up. Meanwhile, I have two of our wonderful studio artists with me here today, Elizabeth Fishburne and Ashley Cutright, and they're going to sing for you Sularia, which is a very, very famous duet from The Marriage of Figaro. You may remember it from a very, very memorable scene from the movie The Shawshank Redemption. And Ashley and Betsy are performing this duet with a staging that is very 21st century. So please welcome Ashley Cutright and Elizabeth Fishburne.
Thank you, Tulsa Opera, for what you do for our community. That was wonderful, entertaining, fabulous voices. Please support our Tulsa Opera, and thank you for being here today. Committee meetings, Partners in Education, room 232, and we got such a nice note from the kids saying thank you for everything that we do for them. So just wanted to acknowledge that. Rotary Cares, room 233. And remember, after Rotary today, Terry Heritage interim healthcare nurses still available to give you flu shots. How many already got yours? Let's see those arms. I said, oh, yeah. Good job. All right. MSN, last day to buy raffle tickets, so look for Brenda and Ben. There's Brenda right there. She'll be out there. Last day to win that wonderful car. Please keep in mind access to Thomas Hall will not be available through Parker Hall for several weeks, so you need to tell your guests if you have any that might be easier to park on the other side. We're again partnering with Junior Achievement to teach business and personal finance to Celia Clinton Elementary, our partner in education school. Our goal is to put a Rotarian in every classroom, kindergarten through 6th grade. Junior Achievement will provide the training, coursework, and materials. All you need to add is your time and your energy. So there are some sign-up sheets on your table. And I really want to thank Matt and that whole group that works in Junior Achievement in our school, and this is certainly a school that could use it. So let's sign up and help out. I also want to encourage you to support the annual silent auction during district conference. It benefits Rotary Youth Exchange. If you've got an old piece of artwork but you just no longer have room for it, anything that they can put in that auction, it helps all the kids and their programs while they're here. So watch for your email also about how you can bid on these items, because there's usually some fabulous things, and what we do, bidding and donating, is going to help the end game on that. And now, Mr. Ed, you have some OSU TCU tickets. It's homecoming. OSU, TCU. All right. I see some orange back in the back there. Hey, it's better than what they did with those OU tickets. Go Pokes. All right, thanks, Mr. Ed. Thank you, Tom. For the October 30th meeting, if you've got some funky pictures of you in a Halloween costume, we're going to create a little montage, and we'll try to figure out who are the Rotarians in these costumes. So just email them to me, kkeith@tulsacounty.org, and yeah, something like that. So I'd love your participation in that. Jerry Murator, you know, he always gets dressed up for Oktoberfest. Jerry, stand up. You can join in the fun beginning tomorrow at 5 p.m., running through Sunday at 6 p.m. Oh, he's styling. Thank you very much. And, of course, the Arabians, remember they came last year to Tulsa, that we've had them for several years, $32 million economic impact. They are in town beginning this Friday, so they'll be here for over a week. Hope you'll go out, see the show, and shop their exposition. There's great clothes for the ladies, some stuff for the guys, but really like the ladies' clothes. And we need some volunteers for the Tulsa Run. So if you haven't signed up, that's a whole lot of fun. And Hannibal Johnson's in charge of that, so see Hannibal, call me, email, whatever, and we'll get you signed up. We do need some more volunteers. Richard Holmes, Club Foundation recognition. He's got a presentation for us. Richard?
Thank you, President Karen. On behalf of the trustees of the Club Foundation and on the Club Foundation Development Committee, we are honored to present to you today Rotarians who have become fellows and have fellow recognition. These Rotarians have made contributions to our local Rotary Club and the Tulsa Foundation, and this has raised them to a new level of recognition. I'd like to start out the Club Foundation to tell you that the Club Foundation, for those guests here, fund major projects for our Rotary Club that include Partners in Education, Camp Enterprise, Crescendo Awards, and water welling drilling projects in Nicaragua. I'd like to first recognize three people that are the newest fellows, and if they would stand up when I announce their names. John Catra and Beverly Marquardt, is she here? Oh, there she is, Beverly. And Margot Mitchell. And then we have bronze medal level lapel pin recognitions for two Rotarians, and they are the ones that have contributed between $2,500 and $7,499. And if you would stand, Kathy Garrell and Tim Lyons. And then we also have a silver recognition today, and this is for a contribution between $7,500 and $14,999. Brenda Melancon, would you please stand? And then we also have one gold fellow Betty Shaw. She could not attend today, but we would let's give everybody applause for their contributions. And past President John B. Johnson, Jr., would you please come forward? It's my honor today. John's been a legal mentor of mine way back when I was a young lawyer, and he's a true gentleman. And today, John, you're being awarded with the Pillar Community Fellow, and this is for donations of $50,000 or more. Thank you, Karen.
John, thank you so much. And now, Trey Walling with the 2014 Iowa Awards Early Bird Discount.
Thank you very much, President Karen. As many of you are probably aware, last year's male recipient and former Oklahoma Sooner running back Adrian Peterson suffered a tremendous loss in his family last week with the passing of his 2-year-old son due to an assault by his son's mother's boyfriend. So as I stand here to discuss this year's banquet and the Early Bird Special, I would humbly ask that all of you keep Adrian and his family in your thoughts and prayers, as I can only imagine their tremendous sorrow and grief that they're all experiencing right now. Now on to Early Bird. Last week, I announced the kickoff of the Early Bird Special for the IBA table sales. As promised, there are Early Bird reservation cards on each table today. The discounts apply to the $3,000 and $5,000 level tables, and unlike years past, there is a shorter window of opportunity this year, partly due to my traveling and being the king of procrastinators, and then partially due to my traveling and being the king of procrastinators. So I would ask that everyone take a look at those reservation cards. and act quickly to reserve your table, to save a little bit cash in the process, to support the club, the foundation, and the ongoing success of the IBO Awards. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me after the meeting, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yay, Trey. Trey, I know because of your traveling and your schedule, you're going to slip out on us, and that's okay. Eric Ortega, you've got a grant presentation.
Hello. When I'm talking with my friends and relatives in my hometown, and I tell them that I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, besides explaining to them we don't live in teepees, I'm very proud to tell them we have all kinds of arts, including opera. And when I asked DJ to present a check for a grant to come here and send me some slides for the video, she said, no problem, I will bring the opera to you. So here is DJ to tell us what they are going to do with our grant.
Thank you, Eric. On behalf of Tulsa Opera, I'm the managing director at Tulsa Opera. Some of you may or may not know that. I represent the unartistic side, the finance and fundraising, and the part that gets to deal with things that make the business side of that run, which isn't very glamorous, but it's very necessary. We had an amazingly antiquated phone system that was hampering our very lean administrative staff tremendously in serving our public in purchasing tickets and such. And we approached the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Eric came and visited. Burl Watson was very involved. Scott Philstrip is on our board as well as Burl. Then we reached out to a number of other people, Joseph Bias and others that have been either on our board or supportive, and asked to help us replace that. And you all were very generous in doing that. And we now have a new phone system that allows us to queue up calls, forward calls automatically to the PAC when we're getting slammed with ticket orders, and just a lot of other things that make it so much more efficient. We actually have voicemail now, which we didn't have before, just some small things like that. So we really, really appreciate that. I want to talk just very quickly, and I know we're running out of time, but Costis talked about the cast of Marriage of Figaro. At least the ladies, who wants to come see this? Yeah, okay. Figaro's in town, having one wild wedding day. We have little mini posters of this. You ladies, if you'd like to pick them up, and men, if you want to take them home to your wives, make them happy. Take those with you. They're out on the tables out there. The show does open this Friday. We're not just about the 3 productions we put on. We have a lot of other things. We have the Studio Artist Program, of which these 2 young ladies are a part of. There are 5 people involved in that. They will go around and visit around 60 schools this year, touching the lives of about 40,000 school children, bringing opera and classical music to them. We have a Tulsa Youth Opera that is free of charge for the students that audition and make that deal. They will be putting on a full-scale opera in January 12th, and you'll be hearing more about that. So we have a big outreach that we do in our community beyond the 3 productions. So if we're in our 66th year, we are the 15th oldest opera company in the world, and we are consistently in the top 10 of regional opera companies. And so you have a lot to be proud of in what you have here. Then the last thing I think, if you don't have your tickets yet for this opera, Travel Zoo has a 2-for-1 offer right now. If you go to travelzoo.com, you can get 2-for-1 tickets to the opera for this week. And I encourage you to come see it. It is a spectacular show, beautiful voices, scenery, and people up on stage. So I really want to thank you for helping us be better at what we do in bringing this great art form to Tulsa. Thank you.
And now Sergeant at Arms Janet Rockefeller, she's back.
Yeah, thank you, David, for filling in for me last week. I didn't think anybody could fill in for me, but I guess he did a good job. Anyway, okay, Linda Bradshaw is our catch of the week because on Sunday, fabulous picture of her in around Tulsa making a check presentation on behalf of the Will Rogers Memorial Foundation, and it was a hefty check, so congratulations, Linda, wherever you are. Great job. And then Marty Alexander wanted to pay a $25 fine because she appreciated the fabulous Business Appreciation Day at Jackie Cooper Imports with Greg Keck, and she decided to send it here instead of making a down payment on a convertible that she saw. Mike O'Brien contributed $100 to celebrate his birthday and in turn help others. Thank you. Happy birthday, Mike. And Paula Wood, this is a great one. She paid $100 because she said I made her feel guilty for not responding to the email I sent her on behalf of Rotary telling her happy birthday. I don't make people feel guilty, so I was very proud of that. And because she attended the best Business Visitation Day ever at the Cox Business Center. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, Gordon Greer paid $165 for the following milestones: $77 for his birthday. Happy birthday. $55 for his wedding anniversary, congratulations, and $33 for his years in Rotary. So that's fabulous. Congratulations, Gordon, and thank you. And then Doug, right there. Doug is celebrating 49 years in Rotary, and he paid a $100 fine. It goes to Crescendo. And finally, Joy Longmire paid $100 for her Rotary anniversary, but she couldn't be here today because she's taking her dad out to celebrate his 89th birthday. So congratulations. Thanks, that's all today. Send me stuff for next week.
Thank you, Janet. And now it's time for our Rotarian of the Day. He is Tom Byers. He joined our club in 2000. He's a former board chair for Rotary, and he's senior government and affairs representative at his company, Magellan, and he's a Paul Harris Fellow. Please put your hands together and welcome the great, the mighty, the wonderful Tom Byers.
Thank you, President Karen. While I was not planning to do so, it is a real privilege and a pleasure for me to be able to introduce today's guest speaker. Michael Garrett was named Langston University's Director of Athletics in 2012. Prior to that time, he served for 17 years at the University of Southern California as their AD. At that time, he oversaw 19 men's and women's athletic programs and a $90 million budget that made up one of the nation's most tradition-rich programs. I think most of us are aware that Michael was USC's 1965 Heisman Trophy winning tailback. What some of you may not know is that Michael has a background in law, in business, in government, in athletic administration, and community affairs. Garrett became the 7th African-American athletic director at a major Division 1A institution. He has a number of awards. In 2003, he was named one of Southern California's 25 most influential executives in sports by the LA Business Journal. In 2004, was named one of the nation's 101 most influential minorities in sports by Sports Illustrated. 2005, he was named one of the 50 most powerful African Americans in sports by Black Enterprise magazine, and was 5th in the LA Business Journal's Los Angeles Most Powerful Sports Executives. So if you would, please help me give a warm Tulsa welcome to somebody that I know a lot of us remember tearing up the field for the Kansas City Chiefs. Please welcome Michael Garrett.
First of all, it's great being here, and I don't normally give talks, so when you're going to bear with me and you're going to listen to me, you have no choice. But this is not my specialty. Not too long ago, I had lunch with Keith Bailey, and it was really James Donovan's fault, because he's the one that said, "We got to see Keith Bailey, and we're having a golf tournament and the whole deal." And then Keith asked me to be the speaker here. And as I was been instructed to talk to you today, and then Tom gives this whole litany of my background, and he said, "Well, they need to know you. Talk about yourself." So I'm going to talk about myself, which is I normally don't do. And if it gets really boring, then you can raise your hand and I'll switch the subject. Is that a deal? But more importantly, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, in the 1944, might as well get the number. And the thing, I'm giving this reference because it'll tell you very much what I'm trying to do henceforth. The thing that I remember most, and I was born and raised in the government projects, was the chaoticness of that community. We're all poor, and some of us did not handle it as well as others. And it was very painful. And I also remember laying in bed or listening to my mom and my father be talking about paying bills and are we going to be put out in the street, or how can we make all this happen? Those thoughts, those memories actually shaped me for the rest of my life. So my personal philosophy became very simple. And the first thought my father worked until he died. And the first thought I had was, you will never let anyone outwork you. You know, if this thing gets too macabre, you just stay with me, because I'm taking you somewhere, okay? And then the other one is, you got to be in shape, and you got to take on everything. Sounds like someone from a poverty background, doesn't it? And then the one that I'll never forget, you have to be tough and unafraid. And not the last one, but one that I constantly thought about, you can't let anyone outthink you and outsmart you. Always be hungry, and that was a very natural for me, my thing to do when I was growing up, being hungry. And then the last one, which is most important, always have a sense of integrity. Do the right thing. So you're asking, why are you bringing this up? Well, I remember being a freshman at USC, University of Southern California. And we're in the freshman dorm, and we're all freshmen that in those years could not play varsity. So you had a frosh year, and then your first year of varsity was your sophomore year. I know all of you are too young to remember those days, but I have to remind you. And I remember being in the dorm, and all of our freshman team in the room, and we had to scrimmage the varsity all the time. We were their scout team and everything else. And I remember we all in the room, and we're starting saying, well, spring practice starts pretty soon, and what do you think you're going to do? So my roommate, Chuck Arobio, says, there are 3 tackles ahead of me. I think I can be second team. Then the other kid says, I'm the 4th quarterback. God, I hope I can just make the traveling squad. We went around the whole room. Then it came to me, and they said, what about you? You're the smallest guy on the team. They got 6 running backs. What are you going to do? And all I could think about was, I said, guys, I have to make it. There's no option for me. And they looked at me and said, what do you mean? I said, I can't go back home. There's nothing there. And I remember my senior year, Coach McKay calls me in, and John McKay was the head football coach at SC in those days. And he says, I'm going to push you for the Heisman. And I said, you're out of your mind. He says, no, I think you worked hard, and I'm going to push you for the Heisman. If you ever want to know what a person, like all these college kids preparing for the year and they're a Heisman candidate, how do you get your arms around something like that? And many of you are in business and very successful and raised families, and you had to get your arms around things too. But what I remembered, driving back to my dorm, saying, excuse my French ladies, oh, shit. I said, it's one thing to make the team. It is something else to be a Heisman Trophy candidate. So as I laid in my dorm, I'm saying, how do you get your mind around this? And I said to myself, after many hours of contemplating, you're going to play every game next year like it's the last game of your life. And I did. And I remember the evening before they announced the Heisman. George Ambrose, who was the sports information director for USC, says, well, if you get a call tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, you won the Heisman. And I said, thanks, George. That's very nice. So I went to my room in my apartment there, and I said, you got to have a good night's sleep. And then, of course, the thought came to mind, how do you get around this? How do you handle this thought? And then in 12 hours, 10 hours, you may get a call. So I said, could you play it any harder? My answer was no. Then I said, then you can go to sleep. So at 7 o'clock, I get a call, and I actually forgot about the whole deal. I'm staggering out of bed. The phone is ringing, and I'm saying, oh, who could call me at this time of morning? So I get to the phone, it's George Ambrose. Even today, it's emotional. And he says, go get your mother. The president wants to see you. And I said, before I get my mother, tell me, did I win or not? He says, you won. And I said, oh, God bless. But the thoughts that I have is all really predicated on how I was raised and the conditions I was raised. I remember when I became athletic director, and we had not won for a long time at USC. And John Robinson, I don't know if many of you remember him. He was a football coach and coached for USC, then the Rams, and came back. And then I had the misfortune of hiring someone named Paul Hackett, who was about as good as I was at coaching, which means he was terrible. But then someone told me about this individual who was coaching. First at the 49ers, then he went to the New York Jets, and then he went to New England Patriots. Then he got fired. And so I said, this guy sounds interesting. So, and his name was Pete Carroll. And so Pete wanted to get his daughter into school at SC, and she ended up playing volleyball there. But he also was visiting to see if I would be interested in him as a football coach. My references are from a poverty background, as I just stated. And so as I'm talking to Pete, I want to know how tough he is. I want to know how hungry he is. I really want to know how badly he wants the job. Because I said, Pete, when I hire you, the LA papers will beat me up. They're going to say, I got a two-time loser, the Jets, now New England. And what do we say to that? He says, we'll tell them we're going to win. I said, that's not enough, Pete. I said, the other two guys said the same thing. And I've been saying it for 5 years. He said, I'm not going to say anything to them. I'm going to show them. And I said, that sounds good to me. But people later asked me, why did I hire Pete Carroll? And the answer was, He was hungry as I was. He was as hungry as the thoughts that I remember from childhood on, that he was driven. And then our first year we went 6-6. And the newspapers were killing us. And we sat in my office at USC, and I looked at Pete, and I said, Pete, you know what? We got 1 year to live. You lose next year, we'll hold hands skipping off this campus. You're going to south, I'll be going north, but we'll both be unemployed. And he said, Mike, you've been with me all year and you watched. We're going to be good next year. We're going to be good for a long time. And I said, Pete, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. Show me. And that young man coached his tail off for 7 straight years. Very, very exciting. Well, it was asked, why did you go to Langston University? Well, Langston reminded me very much of USC some 20 years ago. In 1993, when I became athletic director at the University of Southern California, if 10 students applied to Stanford and the same 10 applied to USC, 9 would go to Stanford and 1 would go to USC. And the president said, Mike, I'm going to change the academic side if you can change the athletic side. I said, I think I can find enough Pete Carrolls around in our department, coaching, that we can change the landscape of athletics on the West Coast, if not the nation. And he says, well, I'm going to do it on the academic side. And some 18 years, 17 years later, if 10 applied to Stanford, it was 6 to Stanford, 4 to USC, hovering to be 5 and 5. That's why I'm at Langston. We're going to change it. Historically black college, not run very well, not a lot of money. But you know the thing that I love about Langston? The kids are wonderful. They remind me of myself, not the best educated yet, certainly not the best dressed, and not always the best mannered. But they're hungry. They want to win, and they want to change their lives. So when Dr. Kent Smith asked me, would you consider Langston? And I said, Langston reminds me of the projects I grew up in. And the kids remind me of myself some 40, 50 years ago. So I'm here to tell you today, we're changing Langston. We're in the process of doing that. Now, my job, first of all, is to do it on the athletic side. We have great talent there. We're an NAI school. I must get my staff to be as courageous as my students. We played 4 1AA schools, and our kids played their heart out. I can't say the same for my administration. But one thing's going to happen. I hate to lose. And we're going to win. So all I'm asking you to do is track us for the next 2 to 3 years. Spread the word that there will be change at Langston. And God bless you. Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any questions? I am so grateful. I mean, the man said he couldn't speak. Are you kidding me? That was wonderful. That was just wonderful. Thank you so much. We have a book recognizing our speaker today. It's called Waking Dragons and Finding Out You Won the Heisman. And this will go to our partners in education, Celia Clinton, and it's a school that needs our help. And wish they could hear you speak. You were very, very wonderful. Upcoming programs. Susan Ford Bales, she's the daughter of President Ford, and she's going to be with us talking about life in the White House and beyond. And I don't know if you know Susan. She lives here in Tulsa. She's just an amazing woman and has some wonderful stories about life in the White House and then all of these incredible things that she's doing as an adult. I think you'll enjoy that. So bring some guests if you'd like. On October 30th, again, Joe Wygand as Teddy Roosevelt. And I will tell you that Teddy Roosevelt is alive and well in Joe. He will be here, and because of our club, he will be speaking in Tulsa Public Schools, the library, as well as Muskogee Public Schools and the Centennial meeting for the Muskogee Club. So anyway, I'm delighted that he's going to be here, so mark your calendars and hope everybody will come. Now, our mystery Rotarian. At a very young age, our mystery Rotarian took his hockey skills and he thought they would take him far. He played side by side with the famous Gordie Howe, and he has a picture to prove it, signed, sealed, and delivered. Yes, school administrator extraordinaire Jerry Bates is our mystery Rotarian. Jerry, if you would stand, please. Woohoo! And you can keep standing. Here's the backstory, and this is from Jerry. Gordie and his sons played for the Hartford Whalers, and after he retired, the Whalers started an alumni team to play charity games and raise money for youth hockey and other causes. My brother worked for the Whalers and was asked to play on the team. Through my brother, I was invited to skate with them as well. I played with Gordie 6 or 7 times and with the New York Islander alumni team twice. I mean, Jerry, you're always revealing something special about yourself. That's very cool. Thank you very much. Another thank you to Michael Garrett, and with that I will close this meeting. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Oh, sure.
Do you have a minute?
Thank you very much.
I like the way you run your club.
Yes, she does a great job. I enjoy it.
Did you get the back?
Yes, I did.
I want to take this back and show our club what you guys are doing.
Hold on. Because I don't know, when I took it, I couldn't tell if it